Oh, hi there, everybody. So today we're going to take a look at the situational problem review, and I'm going to skim through the stuff at the beginning pretty fast because we did it mostly in class, but also important to see how it works with numbers before we actually do it with letters. So we'll start off right away with this question, and it asks you about the area of the shape. So basically, what you have to do is split it into two parts. Okay, but before this, it says to find the missing sides. Which side is missing? Well, there are six sides, and the part that's missing is right here. And the concept is that if you know the full length is 10, then you know those two parts, the 5, and this missing part must also add up to 10. So the calculation would be 10 minus 5, which is equal to 5 centimeters. When I ask for the area, as I said, I can split it vertically or I can split it horizontally. I could actually take the entire rectangle and subtract that 5 by 4 rectangle, or I could even take diagonals and put them on trapezoids, but we're not going to hurt ourselves with that one. So I'm going to actually make the split this way right now because 3 times 10 is really easy to calculate, 30 square centimeters, and the other one is going to be 4 times 5, which is 20 square centimeters. So the area is going to be 50 in all. As for perimeter, well, we can add up all of the sides, and when you do this, there are six sides to add. So I'm going to do this in yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can add up those six sides. However, I described something in class yesterday that was a little bit easier, where we just have to go 10 plus 7 and then double it, because that vertical 7 is equal to the 3 plus the 4, and the horizontal 10 is equal to the 5 plus the 5. So 10 plus 7 doubled, 17 doubled, is going to give me a perimeter of 34 centimeters. Using the same kind of logic, 10 meters across here is going to be the same as the distance across the entire shape. So the missing part is 4 millimeters for that section. And vertically speaking, I got the 8 millimeters and the 6 millimeters. So the missing part is the 2 millimeters, which I'll write on the inside here. Finding the area means I'll split it. And as I said, there's lots of ways you could split this, just like the previous. I'm going to split it this way horizontally again. This is 60 square millimeters. And up on top here, there's going to be 12 square millimeters with a total of 72. The perimeter of this shape, and this time I'll draw the shape as like a big rectangle because, as I said, it's the same distance along. I could go around, along the top, down the side, along the bottom, up the edge. And so technically it's just going to be 8 plus 10 doubled, right? Because you've got this 8 twice and the 10 twice. If you really don't trust that, you can still go back to adding up all six sides. So 18 doubled is 36 millimeters for my total perimeter. Next question, same deal. Okay, hopefully everyone's getting the hang of this. I'm going to split it after I find out the totals. Now here, I'm not going to be subtracting to find the missing side. I'm going to be adding because 6 plus 3 is going to be 9 meters vertically, right? The 6 plus the 3. And horizontally, the 5 plus the 8 is going to give us 13 meters. So I asked for the area of this thing. Again, it's a matter of choice which way you want to split it. I'll split it horizontally again because I see a nice 30 up here, and then on the bottom it's going to be 8 times 3, which is 24, for a total of 54 square meters. On the perimeter, I'm going to add up the sides, and I'm going to just go 9 plus 13. The vertical is going to be the 3 plus the 6, right? 3 plus the 6 that I would have over here, and the horizontal is going to be the 8 plus the 5, which makes another 13. So adding that together, I'm going to have 9 plus 13, which is 22, which I'm going to double for 44 meters. Now you'll be showing your steps a little bit more underneath. I'm just trying to get through these questions and not make this video too long. So next thing I'm looking at is the missing side here. I know the total length of these two, 5 and 4, is going to be 9. Which is, like I said, that's the way we end up seeing the perimeter, right? And vertically, I have the 6 here, and the missing part is going to add up to give me 8, is going to be 2 centimeters along this part here. And I'm in the habit of doing this horizontally, so I'll stick with that. The area of the top section is 9 times 6, which is 54 square centimeters. and the the bottom rectangle, 5 times 2 is 10 centimeters squared for a total of 64 square centimeters. The perimeter of this shape is going to be 9 plus 8 plus 9 plus 8. And so that's going to be 17 doubled, right, because there are 4 sides, equals 34 centimeters. All right, let's move on to the next page. This one is a kite, which has some characteristics we spoke about in class, which is simply that the 6 centimeter side is equal to the negative 2q plus 1 side. So that means I can solve the equation 6 is equal to negative 2q plus 1. Now remember, you've got a bracket between the 2 and the q, but you're going to be multiplying that negative 2 times both of the terms in that bracket, giving us the 6 doesn't change, right? Remember, this is an equation. So we put the equal signs down the middle. We can put our barrier going down. And we're going to be multiplying the negative times the q, so that's negative 2q, and multiplying the negative 2 times the 1, and that's negative 2. Our goal is to get the q term by itself, so I'm going to be adding 2 to get rid of that subtraction of 2. And whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And that's going to give me 8 equals negative 2q. I have the variable term isolated. Now I need to remove the coefficient of that variable term so that I can isolate the variable. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2, and that's going to give me q is equal to negative 4. So I can put that in, negative 4 for q. If you were to replace the q back as negative 4 here, you would see it gives you this 6 centimeters from the other side. I'm going to do the same routine for the bottom half of the kite. Those two sides must be equal in this geometric shape, which means it's going to be 2p plus 3 has to be equal to 9. Notice this time the letters on the other side. It doesn't matter which side it's on, and we're going to leave it on that side. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides so that I can isolate the variable term. So it's going to be 2p is equal to 6, and then I divide by the coefficient, which is 2, so that I can get the p isolated as p is equal to 3. Same deal, if you replace in p equals 3 into that expression, you'll find out it gives you a total of 9 to match the other side. Question B is talking about a rectangle. Now we don't have to look at the entire rectangle this time. We're just looking at the two sides that are going to be equal. The UV is going to be equal to the XW. And it's not asking you to find area or perimeter, it's just asking you to find the missing parts. So 3 over 2r plus 5 is going to be equal to 20. You get rid of the positive 5 by subtracting it on both sides. Let's put that barrier down the middle. And then we have to somehow get rid of this fractional coefficient for the v. And remember the rule. Yes, normally you would divide by the coefficient, but when it's a fraction, it's much easier, way less complicated to multiply. You're going to multiply by something that's going to cancel parts out of it. So if I multiply by a 2 on the top and a 3 on the bottom, they're all going to cancel. And whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So the 3's cancel and the 2's cancel, leaving me with a v on that side. And on the other side, I'm going to put that over 1, and the 3 is going to cancel with the 5, giving me 1 and 5. And when the dust settles, when we clean it all up, v is equal to 10. As I said before, you can actually replace that back in to make sure it gives you the right value when you work it out. So did I write v? Okay, so just a word about handwriting here. That's an R, and that's an R, equals to 10. Now you could write the units on there, but it's not necessary on these kinds of questions because R is the variable, it's not the actual side length. The next question is a similar idea. It's got a trapezoid and there's all kinds of parts to try and distract you, but it all comes down to the fact that the length of LM has to equal the length of TN, and that sets up the equation for us with another little twist, because here the equation is going to have a variable on both sides. So 3a is going to equal to 6a minus 12. And just like before, we need to get the coefficient. Actually, in class, I talked about getting rid of the 12 first, and I made that mistake because my real goal here is to get rid of the 3a, the smaller of the two variable terms. So to do that, I'm not going to put a line underneath it. I'm going to subtract negative 3a from this side and negative 3a from that side. Had you chosen to subtract 6a from both sides, that would actually work and would actually be faster too. But I'm trying to stick with this idea that I know is going to be helping us in the long run, where we end up getting rid of the smaller of the two variable terms. So now I'm left with 0 equals 3a minus 2, 12. And I need to get rid of that negative 12 by adding it to both sides. So now I'm going to have the 3a all by itself on the right, and on the other side, 0 plus 12 is going to be equal to 12. Hopefully that 0 didn't bother you there. That's going to happen every once in a while. I divide both sides by the coefficient, and that's going to give me a is equal to 4. In other questions, I might be asking you more details about this. In this question, it was just a matter of finding the missing part. All right, number 3 is talking about the shapes, which you may have seen before, where we have to figure out the value of x so that we can figure out the perimeter of the inside shaded region. What other information do I know? Well, I have the area as 144. So I can use my area formula, which is area equals base times height. In this case, for the outside shape, it's going to be 8 times x plus 14. Now, the order of these multiplications don't matter. I prefer to put the monomial factor in the front. So 8 times x plus 14, and that's supposed to equal to the 144 for the area. And so I'm going to put those two things together then. 8 times x plus 14 has to equal to 144. You multiply in the 8. Oh, let's stick with my color coding here. 8 is multiplied by both of them, and it's going to be 8x. Whoops. Yeah, 8x is plus 112 equals 144. I'm going to get rid of the 112 by adding negative 112 to both sides. And that's going to leave me with 8x is equal to 32, which thankfully divides evenly as divide by 8, and you're going to get x is equal to 4. Now, what am I supposed to do with that? Well, now that I know the value of x, I can find the perimeter of the inside shaded region by replacing. So if x is equal to 4, that side length is going to be 4. And if x is equal to 4 here, then that's going to be 4 plus 2, and that side length is going to be 6. So the perimeter of the shaded region is going to be 2 times 4 plus 2 times 6. Or if you do it the other way, it's 4 plus 6 doubled. And that's going to give me 20 centimeters for my perimeter. All right, let's see if I have time. I got a minute and a half before this video shuts down. I have to figure out the missing side here. And so I can find that dimension by saying the total is 10x, and this piece is 4x, so the missing part must be 6x. Now, a little more complicated for the next one, because 4x plus 1, that's 2 terms, is part of this, is the full length, and part of it is equal to 2x. So the missing part that has to add to give 4x plus 1 is going to be 2x plus 1 for this side. So it asked me to find the dimensions of the shape if the perimeter is 54. So I'm going to have to figure out the perimeter of this, which is basically going to be 4x plus 1 plus 10x doubled. So I'll do this as 4x plus 1 plus 10x, and then I'm going to multiply the whole thing times 2, and that's going to have to equal 58. Now, I'm going to pause right here because we're almost out of time, because, 15-minute limit on my videos. 14x plus 1 is equal to 58. And I'll be continuing this question in a couple of minutes in another video. All right, so let's pause right here.